From the smallest things to the biggest things. When you do God's will, you're partnering with something that is outside of time. God's will is initiated, originated, it's from heaven towards earth. So those who do God's will are participating in an eternal flow of life. So when you here on earth do God's will, that eternal flow of life, you're literally doing something that is partnering with eternity. Right? So if I say the world is passing away, the systems of the world are passing away. They won't last. What I'm saying is if you do the stuff that the world does, it doesn't impact, it's not eternal. It's not going to keep lasting. It will pass away. But if you participate with what God wants, then you're participating with something that will last forever. You got it? If you do God's will, and I love this because it's from the simplest things to the greatest of things. Man, I used this illustration before, but you are in line at a drive-through, and in your heart, you just go, you feel prompted. I should pay for the person behind me. The drive-through difference, right? Yes, okay. Right? And you do that. You just initiated a decision based on your interaction with the generosity of heaven. You didn't do that out of selfishness. You didn't do that because a radio station told you to do it. You didn't do it. It originated beyond that. And so when you chose to partner with it, there was an eternal value on it. Something as simple as buying somebody's meal. Why? Not because the impact of the meal, but because you were doing a work that was partnering with the will of God for the planet. Yeah? That's the stuff that matters. From the smallest of littlest things, you followed a prompting in the moment, to you made grand plans to fulfill God's will. From the smallest to the biggest thing, that's the stuff that when you are standing before the judgment seat of Christ, because it is eternal in its nature, when God's fire tests your work, it will remain. Because it's eternal in its nature. Are you following me? You got this? Okay. Those who do the will of God live forever. The impact continues to go on and on until the end. The ripple effect of those kinds of decisions go 1,000 generations, the scripture says. This is Exodus 20, verses 4 through 6. Exodus 20, verses 4 through 6. This is one of the commandments of God, one of the 10 commandments. He said, "You shall not make for yourself an idol." What's an idol? An idol is an image that you're going to worship as God. "You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, and I visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, on the third and fourth generation of those who hate me." Or another version says, "those who do not do my will. But I show loving kindness to thousands of generations, to those who love me and keep my commandments," or to those who do my will. 2 experiences in life. You ready? Here we go. You do God's will. The impact of your choices will continue on throughout history because it's eternal in nature. It will impact 1,000 generations from now until the end of time. If, however, you make decisions based on the world system or those things that are passing away, the impact of those decisions last up to 3 or 4 generations. It says that God will visit the iniquity to their children. That word iniquity means it's a willful choice to do your will, not God's will. It's your choice. You chose to do your will, to go your own way. The impact of those kinds of decisions only last 3 to 4 generations. What does that mean? Can I tell you? I want to be real practical with you. When we talk about the sins of the father passed on to the children and the grandchildren and all this, I feel like we have this like ominous version of that. I don't think it needs to be like that. I think that iniquity is man chose to do his will, and it never works out, like ever. It only will last 3 or 4 generations, so about 150 years. It's only going to last 100 years, 160 years. If generation's 40 years, you do the math. Okay, unless it's new math, in which case I don't know how to do new math, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply it, all right? 3 or 4 generations, the iniquity, the pattern that was established to those choices is only going to last up to 160 years. Now, step back for a moment. Turn your brain on. What is, okay, I'll just say it. I won't even ask you as a question, okay? The conscious memory of a society and its processes and the effects of decisions that previous generations have made lasts about 150 years. The pain and the trauma of decision last about 150 years. The consciousness, the memory that's active in your life is less than 150 years old. I'll illustrate it for you. What's your grandpappy's name? Go ahead, just say it to yourself. Glenn. No, it's Glenn. No, what's your granddad's name? Grandfather. Some of you don't even know. Okay? Some of you do. Awesome. Okay? What's your great-grandfather's name? Okay, just survey. How many do not know? Just throw your hand up. Don't be ashamed. Okay? The only reason you know is because you've been on whatever, history.com or whatever you've been mapping out your family tree. You don't know your great-grandfather because you didn't interact with them. You might have as a little kid. Most likely, though, it had already passed before you got the memory. So you're not even working with your memories. You're working with the consciousness of your family and if they pass those memories on. The test becomes this. How many know the name of your great-great-great-grandfather? None of you. There is literally, there's literally, this is in the familial, this is the connected history of what's valued. And we don't have an active memory for it. It ends there. Systems of the world are like this. They're like memory. They only last as long as someone is carrying them forward. And the vast majority of choices that man makes don't have lasting implications. Do you know what the main source of transportation was 150 years ago? You'd say horse, but really it was feet, because not everybody had horses. You might have had a mule pulled by a cart. You may have some form of technology like that, like the wheel. Woo! But the vast majority of the system of transportation in this nation 150 years ago was your feet. Okay? Fast forward a little bit. We progress, yeah? We're making decisions. Awesome. The train and the steam engine changed the world forever. Yeah? How many just got on a steam train to get here today? Okay? You might argue, oh, well, we built upon it. Yes, we progressed, and there were implications, but how many know right now that we're rethinking those implications because of consequences? How many know, this is what's amazing to me, is that when I think about the conscience of America and the stress that we're in, this is the good news, that the trauma mostly exists 150 years ago, up to. It's progressed, okay? But 150 years ago is your Native American stuff. 150 years ago is this, we're wrestling deeply with slavery. Civil War, right? Are there consequences since? Absolutely. Are we still dealing with systemic choices based off of pain? You betcha. But 3 and 4 generations is where conscious memory and the iniquitous patterns tend to die or break through. Y'all, we are on the edge of breakthrough right now. It is prominent and painful because we have gone to this point. So the baton that we get to pass off to the next generation, our kids, it better not be a revisitation of pain from 150 years ago. You get it? Now, what about those who make decisions based on God's ways? See, those kinds of institutions that exist in the will of God have lasting impact, generational impact. Do you know, humanity was given an invitation at the very beginning? God put Adam in the garden. No suitable helper is found. He reaches into Adam and pulls out Eve. He brings Eve to him. Adam goes, whoa, those are my bones, that is my flesh. I'm going to call her woman, name, because she came out of man. And God goes, and for this reason, man and woman come together. For what reason? Because Eve was taken out of Adam. And before that happened, God had said, this is my image. The image of God was Adam with Eve on the inside. The ability to produce life, the ability to create, all of that is contained in Adam until Eve is taken out. And when Eve is taken out, Adam goes, whoop, something's missing, and there it is. She comes to him and goes, woman, you were taken out of man. And God goes, for this reason. What reason? Because the two need to become one flesh to display the image of God. Because this union, hear me out, think generationally. Talk to me about an institution that lasts and blesses thousands of generations. Y'all, it's so crazy to me that we are thinking that things like marriage are political topics. What are you talking about? This isn't, what does this have to do with politics at all? This isn't, we're not voting on this. This is a 1,000-generation blessing to humanity. The partnership with each other to procreate, it's amazing. The covenant of God. And it can be blessed. And it has lasting implications. Have a kid today, 1,000 generations from now, you will see your mark on humanity. Unless you go your own way and die because of iniquitous choices. Do you see? Maybe not. Scotty? Yes, thank you. Generational impact. Okay, what takes place here? The world is passing away, and its lusts, its appetites. What lusts and appetites? Just look at this real quick. The lust of the eyes, the boastful pride of life. Everything that is outside of God's will. So eternal God's will, right? So when you do what God's doing, it has eternity resting on it. Makes sense. Okay, when I do what's not eternal, when I just do what the world's doing, it's got a lifespan of 150 years of impact, maybe. Right? Those are your two qualities. One lasts and one does not. Simple. One is blessed and will increase, and one has decay attached to it. It's going to fade. There's no empire in the world that has lasted for thousands and thousands of years. No government, no force or process of business has lasted for thousands and thousands of years. These things are not, they're temporary.